welcome to day 5 in my countdown to The Walking Dead. Today I am going to continue with my 100 best moments of The Walking Dead from moment 40 to 21. Let's just get started. Number 40 on my list, I believe, was probably reigning champ for quite a while in The Walking Dead as grossest walker, and I had to put it on the list. And as I was compiling the list, I had to keep putting it higher because I think it just made such an impression on all of us. And that is the well walker in season 2, when they lured Glenn down to get the walker out of the well. They got super bloated by the water. And I mean, you guys know what happened after that. It was gross and disgusting. I don't particularly watch Walking Dead for the gore, but even that, you know, made a fucking lasting impression on me. Number 39 on the list is actually a very, very sweet moment. And one of my absolute favorite moments between Daryl and Carol, and that is when he gives her the Cherokee rose. It's the first time we really see Daryl show a bit of emotion and see that he has a bit of a softer side. And it's to comfort Carol in the fact that she lost her child, and he tells the story of the Cherokee rose, and it's so sweet. I think, they kind of cling to each other in season 2 because they're kind of the misfits of the group, and it's just such a beautiful moment. Number 38 on the list is at the end of the season 5 premiere, and that is all of the reunions. I'm kind of grouping them all into one, including, Carol and Daryl, Carol and Rick, which that one got me really, really bad when Rick saw Carol and he said, "Did you do that?" It was really sweet. Tyrese and Sasha, and then Rick and Carl seeing that Judith is alive was so beautiful. It was such a sweet moment to see everyone finally get together and kind of be happy again after the prison battle and after Terminus, except for Beth, poor girl. But I think that moment just really kind of tugs on the emotions a lot, and it's just so sweet and happy. Number 37 on the list, I didn't put it as high because this was one of my favorite comic book moments, and though I loved how they did it and they did a good job in the show, it's always going to kind of be more of a comic book moment in my mind, and I don't know why that is, and that is the tainted meat moment. I kind of figured that that's where they were heading with that once they got Bob, and the next episode really opened up with a bang, especially if you have not read the comics. It's kind of such a crazy moment after realizing that they are cannibals and eating Bob. I love that little payback and that maniacal laugh that Bob has in that moment. I fucking love it. Number 36 on the list is a Hershel moment, and that is his speech before going into the sick ward, where he talks about, you breathe, you risk your life, and, it's more important to talk about what you're risking your life for. I just absolutely love Hershel. I love his outlook on life. I love the fact that it was kind of this moment of like, we're all gonna die, but what matters is what you do before you die. It tears, I get teary-eyed when I watch it because I just think of all that Hershel had accomplished and all of the lives that he kind of emotionally and mentally saved before he went. And I think he did live a pretty amazing life before he sadly, horribly died. Number 35 on the list is Guts, or Glenn and Rick walking through the walkers in Guts. I think it's one of the first moments that really made me fall in love with the show, and it really solidified Glenn as kind of this guy who's always going to be by Rick's side, and them having a true partnership. I know a lot of people talk about Rick and Daryl having such a strong friendship, and that's true, and I love them. There's a moment happening later on in this video that, you know, shows that as well, but Glenn came first. I'm just gonna say that because Glenn is Rick's bestie, and you can't convince me otherwise. Number 34 on the list is when Carol kills all the wolves. It's not really a moment so much as a plot line of the episode, but I mean, you could pick random instances where you really, really were rooting for her. I liked when she camouflaged herself with the W after killing the guy that Morgan was about to fight. That was probably the moment for me, but I like that she kind of takes these burdens on top of herself and to help the group and help everyone, and it just kind of shows how she kind of saves the day again. And even if she doesn't really want to kill anymore, and this is kind of the episode where I think it really started to get to her a lot, though I think she was scarred from Lizzie, I think that this was the episode where she was kind of seeing like, okay, this is really starting to fuck me up. It still is so epic to see her just handle business the way she does. Number 33 on the list is a moment that, what I love is that there's a lot of moments on The Walking Dead that do not have to deal with somebody physically dying in that moment that wrecks you. And I think it's a testament to the actors. And this moment is one of them. This is when Morgan tells Rick what happened to his son, Dwayne. This moment makes me cry every single time. Lenny James, you are brilliant. So are you, Andrew Lincoln. The episode of Clear is very, very heavy and tough to watch, but Morgan in the moment of explaining what happened to his son is probably one of the most tragic things that I've watched on the show. His wife, who he wasn't able to shoot in season 1, ended up killing his son. I can't tell you how tragic that probably was, and it kind of makes sense why Morgan was a little crazy after that. Number 32 on the list is sadly Denise's death at the end of the 6th season. Okay, I'm just gonna say, if you can hear that shit upstairs, I'm so sorry. It's driving me insane. Okay, so number 32 on the list is Denise's death. I fucking love Denise. She is one of my favorite comic book characters. And I thought Merritt Wever did such an amazing job with that character, and her moment, I was so rooting for her throughout that whole episode to really, you know, make it on her own and start knowing how to survive, and it just got ripped away in such a Walking Dead fashion, really abruptly. It was horrible. Number 31 on the list, there's going to be a couple moments on this list that aren't actual deaths themselves, but they are actually people's reactions to certain deaths. I think sometimes they can be worse than the death themselves. Sometimes they're not, I don't know, but it's just, I always, whenever I'm watching somebody die, I wait for that moment to see the person's reaction when they find out. So number 31 on the list is Maggie's reaction after Beth is killed. When Darrell's walking out, literally holding, I feel like, innocence in his hand, like the death of innocence in his hand, and, you know, Maggie's like shrill scream when she realizes that Beth is gone. You know, she thought that she was dead this whole time, and she gets this glimmer of hope when Michonne tells her that Beth is alive. And just to show up to that is one of the hardest scenes to watch in The Walking Dead, I'm pretty sure. Number 30 on the list is at the beginning of the season 6 mid-season premiere, and that is when Daryl blows up Negan's men. This is gonna have a lot of consequences later on, as we all know, but in the moment it was fucking awesome. He saved Sasha and Abraham, and I fucking loved that moment. Number 29 on the list is the fight between Michonne and the governor with the walker heads in the tank and her taking out his eye. It is just a fucking amazing fight scene, and it was just so much build up to this fight scene between these two characters. You know, she really wanted to prove that he was evil, and he really wanted to kind of have control over the situation, and her physically stabbing Penny, you know, in the head to set him off, because she knew that that was going to set him off, was just amazing. The whole fight scene was fucking so tense. And it just kind of was a showdown between these two. It was a showdown between these two amazing new characters of the season. Number 28 on the list is a very, very happy moment, and this probably would have been a lot higher if I didn't find out this fact before watching it, and that is in episode 7 of season 6, when we find out that Glenn is alive. So I figured it out sooner rather than later that he is alive. If I didn't know that, and I really thought that he was dead and he mourned and whatever, I probably would have flipped my shit. It was insane. Glenn is one of my favorites, and the idea of him dying in such a tragic and horrible way with nobody knowing was a little too much to handle for me. If you saw my reaction to that, you know what I mean. And I think he's an underrated character, and I loved that they kind of gave him a second chance and reminded us all that we really, really love him. Number 27 on the list is when Rick kills Gareth. So I was positive when he said that he was going to kill Gareth with a machete with a red handle that he fucking meant it. Like, absolutely. I freaking love the whole dynamic between Rick and Gareth. And though Gareth doesn't really reign supreme as one of the worst bad guys, he did some horrible shit. And it was just such a satisfying moment for having that much violence. It was so fucking amazing. Number 26 on the list, a lot of people probably would have put a lot higher. But having read the comics, I think the shock factor wasn't entirely there for me, but the moment is still tough to watch. And that is when Lizzie kills Micah. I kind of had a feeling that Lizzie and Micah were, you know, replacing the kids in the comics, and I kind of figured that it was heading in that direction. It still is horrible to watch. I was a big, big fan of Micah. I thought she was, or Micah, Micah, I think they call her both at times. Micah? Now I'm thinking about that. Okay, but I loved her character. I thought she was sweet and innocent and kind of funny a lot of the time, and it was horrible to see Lizzie standing above her and say, you know, I didn't hurt her brain. It's just so fucking sad. That episode is, I mean, it really rips your heart out in so many ways. Number 25 on the list is Negan's speech. Now, it probably will climb higher on the list once we see the ending of the speech, but for right now, it's going to sit comfortably at 25. It's quite an entrance to the show. I think I'll talk about the cliffhanger more when I do my season 6 spotlight and how I feel about that. But I'm not as mad as everybody else is. However, I do think that the moment would have really been put over the top if they showed who it was and everything like that. I think, nonetheless, Jeffrey Dean Morgan, you're doing a great job already. And the speech gave me chills. And just to see Rick look like hopeless and like there's nothing for me to do here, like we're fucked, is really, really sad. Number 24 on the list is similar to a moment I was talking about before with people's reactions to deaths being really, really tough to watch as well. And this moment is Darrell's reaction to Merle dying. The whole season, Darrell is kind of in this struggle between his family at the prison and his family with Merle. And it's kind of this tug and pull that's really, really intense between him. And to see what Merle did for him is just, you know, he kind of had that to lean back on, like, you know, well, my brother's kind of a shitty person, so whatever, you know. But it's still tragic to know that his brother kind of sacrificed himself for him, and the whole thing is just really, really hard to watch and such a sad scene. Number 23 on the list. I swear episode 14 of these seasons are starting to turn into like the death of innocent characters. So number 23 on the list is Noah's death. Oh. Probably the worst death to date. I think that there's been some tough ones, and I don't mean death of like emotional, how it affects us, just like physically, that death is not fun for the person it happened to. Noah got ripped apart. His skull was like, ew, ew. And I mean, kudos to Greg Nicotero's team. It was really sad to see Noah go. It was really sad for me because I feel like, in a sense, Beth kind of inadvertently died for Noah's freedom, and to see him not last that long after she died really pissed me off. But I think the whole scene is so tragic, and to see Glenn, you know, he really hasn't seen a ton of people die right in front of his eyes, a few, but to have that one be so up close and in his face in such a tragic way was just horrible to watch. Number 22 on the list is actually kind of a very emotional moment that I feel like a lot of people overlook, but I put it pretty high on the list. I, you know, lost it when I first saw it. And that is when Darrell and Rick, after the whole throat biting incident, they sit down and Rick tells Darrell that you're my brother. That word is just so important to Darrell, and it's just such a important moment for those two characters that they're really starting to become a family. I love season 4 in a lot of ways, but one big way is that this was kind of this season where everybody kind of realized how much they deeply care for each other. Being separated or not being separated, or being in close quarters with just, you know, two characters or whatever. I think this was very representative of that, and such a big moment for those two characters. Number 21 on the list, and I'm sure that there's going to be some people who would be mad that it didn't break the top 20, but it just, you know, when I think about certain people's deaths, this one doesn't make me bawl my eyes out. I think it's deeply sad for a lot of reasons. And this moment is Andrea's death. Why it's so fucking sad is the fact that she really did her best to try to save everyone, and she, at the end, lost her life. I think she would be really happy to know that the people of Woodbury did make it to the prison with Rick and his group. You know, she kind of found out things about the governor a little too late. And I do think that she made the biggest mistake going back to Woodbury after she visited the prison. She should have just stayed there, but she had this goal to save everyone. And if the governor is as bad as everybody says, she wants to save everyone. I do kind of wish that Maggie had a little bit of a talk with her to be like, oh, this is what happened to me, just so you know. I mean, she kind of overheard stuff, but not really. I think that there was some mistakes that were made, but it's kind of tragic that she went without knowing that kind of everybody was safe. There were a lot of sad moments, but I love that Michonne stayed with her. I love the kind of friendship that they really portrayed between Michonne and Andrea. I think that it was really important, and I absolutely loved it. So that is my list of moments from 40 to 21. I am so sorry if you hear, I'm literally at my wit's end when it comes to how much noise you can hear from upstairs. All the time in my videos, I'm not sure how much you can hear or not. I'm not gonna really know that until I edit this. But I'm apologizing anyway. Thank you guys so much for watching. I will see you tomorrow.